between the U.S. and North Korea. America's top diplomat saying that Americans should rest easy. That was his message in that interview. Ohio Senator Rob Portman, Republican, member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, back home in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Senator, thank you for your time today. I've got a number of topics to go through, so let's see how we do. First, on North Korea, what is the right message for Americans now?
I think Tillerson's got it right. You know, Ronald Reagan said famously, peace through strength. The president and Tillerson have both indicated that we will respond and respond forcefully. But in the meantime, opening the door to dialogue, I think it's the right message. The way we're going to solve this thing, Bill, in my view, is to get not just the countries in the region, but the international community working as one to put pressure on North Korea. That's why the UN sanctions are so important. But frankly, the UN sanctions only stop about $1 billion of the $3 billion in trade. So we've got to go further. We've got legislation to do this. It's called Stopping the Enabling North Korea Accountability Act. And it focuses, frankly, on China because China has about 80% of the trade with North Korea. So I think we need to really tighten up the noose. We need to be sure that the sanctions are put in place properly at the UN, that there's actual implementation, particularly by Russia and China. But we go even further and say that if you do business with North Korea, you can't do business with us and you can't do business with our financial institutions. That's our most effective leverage.
Your message there is results and not activity. But you need China to act. I am stunned that North Korea can export $3 billion worth of and bring in $3 billion worth of revenue every year. I mean, when you think how many decades later we are in this crisis, that's still possible. How?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And you think about it, you know, during the last 8 years in the Obama administration, and frankly before that, we were not effective at stopping North Korea. Let's be honest. You know, they've moved forward both with their missile technology and their nuclear weapons and the miniaturization, apparently, of their nuclear weapons. And part of it is we have not had the effective sanctions on North Korea. So the UN vote is significant. Now we've got to be sure it's actually properly implemented. That's been a problem in the past. But we need to go even further. One example of the UN is that prior they had a cap on coal exports, which is the #1 export from North Korea. Now they have a ban altogether. That's a good thing. But let's be sure that's properly enforced. And then let's take the next step and focus on particularly these Chinese companies that continue to do business. They provide dual technology to North Korea, some of which is commercial, some of which goes into their nuclear weapons program.
And again, it's results and not activity. We'll watch that. A couple of the topics here. Obamacare is still an issue out there, and it failed 2 weeks ago. These are the insurers now withdrawing from some of the Obamacare marketplaces. It's a long list, from Aetna to United Healthcare, from A to U on the screen here. And when we talk about that and we talk about tax reform, whether or not you're going to take another crack at Obamacare when you come back after August recess, we found this poll from CBS News, and this is a stunner. The question went out to people, how do you feel about Congress and whether or not they're getting much done? Look at the top line on the level of frustration. GOP 84%, Democrats 61%, but independents 77%. How much damage to a party if voters are not convinced that you can govern?
Well, I think it's important that we show we can govern, and specifically, we have a great opportunity before us on tax reform, where we've got a broken tax code. Everybody knows that. And the ability to simplify the tax code and then make our businesses more competitive so that American workers can have higher wages and better benefits is an opportunity right before us. I hope we can do it in a bipartisan way, Bill. That's how we've done it in the past. The last big tax reform in 1986 was entirely bipartisan. If we can't, though, we got to figure out a way to move forward as a party because it's too important.
Do you think, as Mitch McConnell said, that the president had excessive expectations?
No, look, I think the president's expectations was that we would work together to get these things done. And frankly, you know, we haven't had a lot of buy-in from the Democrats on this stuff. And that's too bad because we should be doing these things on a bipartisan basis. But we've got to get them done. By the way, on health care reform, we cannot give up. You see what's happening, as you just mentioned, in the individual market all around the country. Here in Ohio, as you know, we were already experiencing that. Insurance companies leaving, prices skyrocketing, about 100% increase in the individual market. No one can afford that. So we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm not giving up, and we can't give up. We have to repeal the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and we have to replace it with something better. If we just repeal it, by the way, more insurance companies are going to leave and costs are going to go up even further. That's what everyone
Senator,
says.
You voted yes.
We got to get it done.
I apologize about the interruption. I'm just trying to move to a few more topics. But you voted yes. Yeah. Are you pledging today that this issue is not dead and will be repealed and replaced?
Yes. In fact, I've talked to 2 House members this week, and I plan to talk to others to figure out how we ensure that we can indeed replace this with something that works better. And again, the numbers and the companies that you've just listed here, a number of companies that are leaving states altogether, the counties that are going to have no insurance company, the rates that are going up dramatically for small business and individuals, that can't continue. I mean, there already is an implosion, yeah. and we need to act.
Sir, you are pushing new legislation on human trafficking. What is your effort center around when you talk about this website that you believe now has been found guilty of such heinous crimes around the world?
Yeah, Bill, it's both simple and tragic. There has been a sharp increase in sex trafficking, human trafficking, and everyone who's looked at it comes up with the same conclusion, which is it's moved from the street corner to the smartphone, which is what sex traffic victim survivors have told me. In other words, it's online now, and it's very efficient. And again, it's a heinous crime, as you say. When individuals who have been trafficked and when prosecutors try to go after these websites, and the biggest one is called Backpage.com, they have about 80%, we believe, of the commercial sex traffic, they are blocked. They are blocked by a provision of federal law which gives immunity to these entities that are facilitating sex trafficking. That's wrong. And so what we're doing in Congress is coming up with a very narrow change in the law to say, look, if you are knowingly assisting, facilitating, supporting sex trafficking, then you're subject to prosecution just like anybody else would be, whether you're online or not.
As it should be.
And I think that's a simple way to be able to actually stop some of this exploitation of girls and women online. And it's a horrible crime, and it's continuing today at bigger and bigger numbers. Right here in our home state of Ohio, Bill, where you're from, it's unbelievable in this century we are seeing selling human beings online.
I want to wish you the best of luck on that. It's the right cause, and your head and your heart's in the right place, as it is too on the opioid crisis, which has hit Ohio so hard. Sir, thank you for your time. Rob Portman there in Cincinnati, Ohio. Hope you come back soon.
Thank you, Bill.
Sir.
Always great.